Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Doc Hamels, and you are watching Destination Chautauqua County, and this show is providing you the opportunity to meet, listen, and watch candidates that are running for various political offices here in Chautauqua County, primarily more here in the western side of the county. Today we're going to be interviewing Miss Laurel Adams, who is running for County Legislative District 19, and this is the fourth in the series of 7 interviews that we're going to be doing. So right off the bat, I want to welcome Laurel to the show, and how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Doc. How are you?
I'm fine. I have a busy day today. I have 3 other people I'm going to interview throughout the day, but I'm hoping that you're going to find this an opportunity to talk with me and let folks know about yourself, to let them know a little bit about your background and some of the things that you think that you can bring to the position of county legislator. And so I'm going to just ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself right now, and I'll be quiet. And so tell me everything we should know about Laurel Adams.
Wow. That's
and remember, this is a half-hour show.
Okay. All right. I've lived most of my life in Ripley. Mm-hmm. I happen to be the 4th generation of my mother's family to live in the town of Ripley.
What's the family name?
My mother's maiden name was Bisbee, and her family that goes back further was Bray.
Okay, I know all those names.
I'll bet you do, in one capacity or another.
Mm-hmm, sure.
So I graduated from Ripley Central in 1973. I took a few years off and started a family and went back to college at Fredonia State, got my degree in medical technology, spent a year's internship at WCA, and got my my full certification to be working in hospital laboratory work.
Wow, I did not know
You
about
did
that
not
until
know
Ed
that.
Brooks mentioned that he worked with you as a medical tech.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I work right now. I work part-time at Westfield Memorial Hospital. A great organization.
Absolutely.
I've been there for 21 years.
Have you really?
I really have.
Did you know I'm on the board of directors there?
I did not know that.
I'm the vice chair.
Well, awesome. So we have another thing.
We
in
have another
common.
connection.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
From there, I have, like I said, I have lived most of my life in Chautauqua County and Ripley in particular. I did live in the state of Wyoming for a little while. I lived in the state of Maine for a little while. And both my boys, I had 2 boys, when they graduated high school, returned to the Ripley area. So I came back because, you know, if your children are gone, sometimes you make that move. You decide, is it better here or should I go back home?
So I see you brought some folks with you today. Who do you have here in the studio with you?
I have my lovely granddaughters. One is biological, the other one is honorary. My granddaughter biologically is Jade Champeau. Jade is a freshman at Chautauqua Lake.
Okay.
Lives in Ripley. And she is on the swim team and doing some awesome things there. She's qualified for sectionals in the 100-meter butterfly and the 200-meter IM. Yeah, I'm being coached.
I see that. I get a lot of that here at the studio as well.
Yeah, the 200-meter individual medley.
Okay, super.
So she's looking forward to hopefully going to sectionals this year as a freshman.
Alrighty.
My honorary granddaughter is Emerald Weish, and she is a wonderful, wonderful girl. Active. She's hoping to join the softball team this year, and has actually done some public speaking in her capacity. She's a very big success story of the program for foster care. She became a foster child, and her foster parents eventually adopted her.
Oh, how nice.
And so she has spoken to CASA and the GA in her advocacy for the foster care program.
It sounds
and
like
the
you're
adoption.
networked with a lot of organizations in this county.
I kind of am. I'd like to put a plug in for the library. I'm also Ripley Library Board President. We do a lot of things there, and they're a great organization.
A lot of people don't realize what's going on in our small towns.
Yeah, they're kind of a hub in town.
Yeah.
So.
With that being said, you sound like a busy person. You've got granddaughters and your work and everything else. How in the world did you get to the point where you said, "Oh, I think I'd like to run and be a county legislator"? I mean, that's a big decision.
Yeah, Facebook can be very detrimental to your life sometimes. I was on Facebook one day, and I was looking through, and they were saying that there was like 5 or 6 districts in the county where the incumbent legislator was running unopposed. I'm a big proponent of the political process. I like to see choices and changes, and I like to see people be able to make their own choices. And if you only have the incumbent running, you don't really have a choice.
Right. Now, you're running for District 19. I think we
Yes.
have a map of that. I think we're popping up, maybe, just for our viewers. If it pops up, there we go.
Got it.
So, see, we're high-tech here.
Yeah.
So, it covers, obviously, well, you can tell me what it covers, the District 19.
Ripley and Westfield, basically.
And that was reorganized a few years ago. So
Yes, it was.
It used to be, Ripley was part of a different section of the county, but now
Yes.
that makes it a lot easier just moving between the two. All right. All right, so you're running for District 19, and there's the map of it. And, all right, so somebody talked you into this, or that you just said,
Well-
hey, I got to do this?
You know, I try to have civic pride and civic responsibility and volunteer. I have several other organizations and community efforts that I'm in league with. So what I did was I called up Norm Green, who is the Democratic Commissioner for Chautauqua County, and said, Norm, there is nobody running on the Democratic ticket in my district. We got lots of excellent people. You know, who makes a good county legislator? And he said, anybody. There are no job requirements. Anybody can do it. They just have to be concerned, educate themselves, and, you know, be aggressive about looking forward to what this county needs.
So you're informed.
Yep,
You're pretty active.
yep.
So what skills do you bring? You said you don't have any skills?
Well, you know, I mean, I do have a desire to see the county move forward. I do have a desire to see Ripley in particular move forward, because that's where I live. I also have ties to Westfield. I want to see Westfield move forward. I have been told by previous managers in my workforce that I do have a particular talent for thinking outside of the box and looking at things in new ways and coming up with solutions that hadn't previously been identified.
When you made that comment about the box, former county executive Mark Thomas once introduced me, and he said, you know, this is Dr. John Hamels, and most people are in the box or out of the box. Hamels doesn't even know there is a box.
Awesome.
So
I
maybe
like
thinking,
it.
oh, it's a
I
little
like
cheaper.
it.
So I never thought of that, but there you go. So, so moving the county forward, in what capacity? How do you see yourself as a legislator? What would you be doing since you're working towards that? How do you see your role? What are your concerns?
Well, I think that one of my biggest concerns in this county and the Ripley Westfield district is that we need to foster more business opportunity. Part of the problem in Chautauqua County is that most of our constituents feel like they pay a lot of taxes for little benefit. The services and the infrastructure maybe don't get the attention that they think we need for the amount of money that we pay.
Okay.
And, you know, I mean, is that a valid concern? Sure. You know, things are expensive. You know, everybody thinks that we should be able to do things for a much lower price than we eventually have to spend.
Right.
So one way to do that is to encourage economic growth, attract businesses to the area, thereby bringing in, keeping our kids here. I mean, you know, our kids graduate and we kind of send them off into the world because they need a job, and perhaps they can't get a job, or at least a job that pays well enough to sustain a lifestyle in this county.
Okay. So as a legislator, you would encourage those kinds of things. Do you have any ideas of, in the back of your mind, that you would like to introduce if you were elected?
Yes, I would like to actively look for socially responsible companies. Companies that are looking at what the area can bring to their workforce. You know, we have a lot of lovely things. We have Lake Erie, we have Lake Chautauqua, we have Panama Rocks, we have museums, we have art galleries, we have you know, the libraries.
Yeah.
We have lots of
assets,
things that can attract a good, healthy lifestyle for people working for these companies. And that's one of the things that socially responsible companies look at. You know, what kinds of things are available to keep my workforce happy and engaged and
Okay.
active.
Okay,
So
good point.
those are the kinds of companies I would like to see come into the area. I would also like to see some environmentally responsible companies come into the area.
So defining that, environmentally responsible.
Well-
I mean, I have an idea, but what are you thinking?
Well, you know, first of all, companies that aren't going to pollute the water or the soil or the atmosphere with what they're doing. And, you know, and if that's a possibility, how can they contain those things? And also, companies that are geared towards green environment, you know. The solar panels, the wind energy, you know, any of those things. We also are in a unique situation in this county because we have 86 that takes us towards New York City. We have 90, which takes us across the country. We have the railroad. We have Route 5, Route 20.
Yeah.
You know, so there's easy access to shipping movements for companies.
So we have a lot to
that-
offer, you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
oh, definitely. We just need to be marketing them more, and we need to be actively engaging companies that, you know, fit that profile, and we need to have, you know, our legislators supporting that.
Okay. So let's take the 90, the railroads, the 5 and the 20 and 86, and let's switch topics.
Okay?
You can move products up and down every one of those, and at the same time, drugs are coming into our county the same way. We're at epidemic levels of drug abuse right now. I read in the papers about once a week, some late 20-year-old somebody, early 30s, just overdosed on some type of opioid drug,
Yeah.
heroin, whatever.
Yeah.
Drugs has been like the #1 issue right along with, you know, business and stuff like that. Any thoughts on what the county legislature could do on this?
I could sit here and talk to you for an hour on the opioid crisis and the drug crisis and thoughts. How I can affect those as a county legislator is probably pretty limited, but we definitely have a problem. and we definitely need treatment and education and help. We see it all the time at the hospital. You know, people are prescribed opioids. They become hooked.
Right.
They don't have access to them anymore as a prescription because
They've been cut off,
they've been
yeah.
cut off. So they seek street drugs.
Cheap and available.
Yeah. I was talking to somebody just last week who said, you know, I know a guy, he's in his late 40s, early 50s, back pain, got the drugs from the doctor, and the doctor said you can't have them anymore. And so now he's on street heroin. You know, it's cheap, it's available, and, you know, sad to say, but probably, you know, if you knew the right people, you could go out on any streets, especially, you know, in our major cities, and find someone who would help you get those.
And, you know, and there was a time when I think people were embarrassed to say their town had drugs. I think it's just everywhere. I don't think there's any place other than some cave on the top of a mountain that you might not find it.
Oh,
But
most
I mean,
definitely.
where there's people, you're going to find drugs nowadays, and it's really a sad state.
Well, the problem really is the opioid drugs work on the center of the brain that controls pain and emotion. So once you have the opioids, they produce a dopamine release, and the dopamine release causes a euphoria and a high. And, you know, that's,
Yeah.
especially if you have an addictive personality,
Right.
you kind of want that. A friend of mine, her son has been fighting an addiction for about 15 years.
Oh, boy.
It's been back and forth, and, you know,
So
drama.
it's a
and
regular roller
concern.
coaster in many cases, yeah.
Gosh, yes. And he finally, you know, they live out of state. He finally got into a good drug treatment program. And it was, you know, detox and 30-day in-house, you know, for the first 2 weeks. Wasn't even allowed to talk to his parents.
Right.
Because sometimes, you know, the family can be a problem.
Right.
Sometimes
They're-
they're a source.
Right.
So
They're supporting the addiction, not knowing it.
yeah, and then for the next couple of weeks, it was limited access to people that they had, you know, figured out were a positive influence in
Okay,
their
so
life.
let's take that concept now, and where do you see Chautauqua County, and what would you do as a legislator?
Well, I would love to see a little more money spent on treatment programs. We have a 20-bed facility going into Jamestown at the old Jones Hill facility.
Right, okay, I know what you mean.
We have a large contingency in this county that need to avail themselves. Now, I don't have any particulars on the program. I know that the facility is due to be opened up next year. I don't have particulars on the program. I don't know, is it just a detox? Is it a 30-day lockdown facility? You know, I don't know what that is.
And it could be an evolving program as well. you
Yes.
know.
I think we may be fooling ourselves if we think that 20 beds is enough.
I can't even imagine. I
Yeah.
think that's just a drop in the bucket. I'm so sad to say.
I
isn't it?
believe that you are correct.
So if I'm hearing you right, and you can certainly push back, that you would be supportive of county funding or some other sources to support drug treatment.
Oh, gosh, yes. Yeah. And I think we could probably use another facility on the north end of the county.
Okay.
I think that we need the 30-day option, 30-day lockdown option. And then from then, this individual I was talking about went into a halfway house situation
As
where
well.
he lived with other addicts.
Right.
You know, and some very sad stories. I mean, one of the friends he made in that capacity his mother was shooting him up with heroin at the age of 2.
Oh my gosh.
And developed a severe epilepsy problem because of it.
Crazy stuff.
Eventually succumbed because he had an epileptic episode,
Yeah.
and there was no one there.
No one there to help,
And,
yeah.
and he unfortunately lost his life. So I think we need halfway houses. And
The full treatment program.
yeah.
All right,
yeah.
so now let me loop back to what you were talking about with taxes and business growth and so forth. It's the never-ending balancing act between taxation and government services. So how does that work for you?
Well, yeah. I mean, for a long part of my life, I was a single mom, and so I'm really used to balancing and looking for the best deal and trying to figure out, how to pay the water bill and how to pay the electric bill and how to, not have my services.
Okay. So there's going to be some give and take and some type of
Yes, yes.
refiguring things.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a hard question now.
Sure.
If it meant raising taxes a little bit, would you support that?
I'm really not a fan of raising taxes.
Okay.
We really
Gotta find
are
another way.
taxed high enough. Yeah, we have to find another way.
Okay.
Part of that is the economic growth, to bring
Okay.
more people into the area, more business into the area. Then we could benefit from business taxes as well as increased property taxes from the people who are moving in here. I mean, you go around, you see a lot of empty buildings for sale, derelict buildings. I think those are all something that can be utilized.
The county legislature, as I understand it, has lots of committees and things like that. And if you don't know the answer to this, I'm not trying to set you up. But if you were to be elected and they say to you, what committee would you like to be on? Do you have any feel for where Laurel Adams fits right now?
Well, I know there's one based on, business and economic growth, so that would be of interest to me.
Okay.
I don't know if they have one on the drug epidemic.
I'm
because
sure
I
there's health
cer-
services
Yeah.
and
Yeah, in that capacity.
You'd be okay with
yeah.
that one as well?
Oh, certainly.
Okay.
Certainly.
Because I think people like to know, well, where do you come from? Where do you see your strength areas? So that's interesting. And that's the best part of my job is learning about people. See, now I wouldn't have guessed you would be interested in the business. I don't know why, I just didn't know that.
Well, I'm actually a small business owner and a part owner in a second small business as well. So
You
yeah,
are? What do you do?
I am.
You didn't tell us in the beginning.
Well, a few years ago, about 10 years ago, I was looking for something different in my life. And I decided, after much soul searching, to go to the New York Institute of Massage and become a licensed medical massage therapist. So that is my business. I do have a business.
So where do you
doing
have that?
That's in Sherman, actually. My office is in Sherman. And I do some work out of my home. I have a room in my home that I work out of. And that's
See, I
in
did
Ripley.
not know that.
See? Yeah.
Jeez, you're busier than I am.
And then I'm also part owner in a small secondhand vintage
Oh,
slash
don't
art
tell me this.
shop.
Where's this? What is it?
In Sherman as well.
Okay.
And the name of it is Roseland's Emporium.
Oh, I've seen that when I've gone through. I did not
Yeah,
know that.
you should stop in sometime.
Oh, boy. Well,
We have vintage, we have antiques, and we have several artists, one of which is Anna Weaver, an Amish artist
oh, yes.
who, helps to support her family of, I think she has 6 children. One is a special needs child.
okay.
And she's a busy lady.
So-
She's some wonderful stuff.
So you're an entrepreneur. You work at a hospital. You're busy in the community. Wow. All right.
I try.
Okay. Now I'm getting a better picture and so on. All right. Let's move on to maybe one more topic here. How's that?
Okay.
You mentioned socially responsible, environmentally responsible, in a couple of discussions already. So how about the lakes? People seem to be on the big bandwagon about Lake Chautauqua. You hear a little bit about Finley Lake with some new construction there. We don't hear much about Lake Erie, and Ripley runs right along Lake Erie. I mean, any thoughts on anything on the lakes? Anything?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, I had access to Lake Erie back in the 60s when I was a kid. And, you know, we all loved going down to Ripley Beach. Was the water very clean? No. They've done a really good job of improving the water quality in Lake Erie. So, yes. Right now, the Ripley, I sit on the steering committee also for the Ripley Beach project.
With Mike Rowe.
Yeah, with Mike Rowe. And so we're trying to get some grant money and make that program go forward. And you know, it's a lovely project. I wished I had thought to bring the map with me because you know, there's a unique opportunity there because of the shape of the piece of property. But what they want to do is to have like a wildlife nature walk with, I think it's Fredonia State they want to have come down and label some of the indigenous species. They want to put in, you know, a shower for cyclists and also
You mean bicyclers?
Yes, bicyclers.
Okay.
Cyclists, not
Bicyclist.
bikers.
Okay, I'm a bicyclist.
Yeah. Okay. Word is during the summer we get like, you know, 40 to 60 bicyclists that come through there.
Every day.
Every
I saw
day.
some this morning on the way to the studio.
Yeah. As long as the weather's good, they still come.
Yeah.
So, you know, there will be some amenities for them there. You know, like the possibility of a shower and some primitive camping sites for tent camping, things of that nature. So I'm all for that. I would love to see a marina built in Ripley.
That'd be
You
good.
know, because there's, you know, there would be business opportunity to build the marina. And for, you know, fishing charters and things like that.
Okay. Laurel, we are just about down to last half minute here or so. So please talk with the folks right now and anything you want to tell them about why they should vote for you and what you represent.
Well, you know, I do tend to throw myself into whatever I do. So I can guarantee you that when the election is over, if I am sitting on the county legislature, I will throw myself into that as well. I think it's important to move forward for, I like the Iroquois definition of you need to do what's good for 7 generations down the line, and I'd like to see that happen here.
Excellent. Well, thank you for joining me today on Destination Chautauqua County. My guest today is Ms. Laurel Adams, who's running for District 19 County Legislative Office. I gotta get those right. And I'm Doc Campbell, so stay tuned for about another half hour, and we'll continue on with our political interviews for Chautauqua County 2017. Take care now.